Well, hello everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. I've had some horrible technical issues just in the last 24 hours. My main computer decided it didn't want to communicate with Wi Fi anymore, and I tried to switch everything over to the laptop, and then my microphone wouldn't work. It was fine this morning. It's working fine this morning, but when I come in to do this, it's not getting picked up. So I'm having to use the mic off the camera, unfortunately. So I'm leaning in. I'm talking as loud as I can. Can you hear me okay? Thank you, Flip Flop, and thank you, Albert. I appreciate you being here. We'll hang out for just a few minutes, see if anybody else is going to pop in. But let's start with, just for the heck of it, how's everybody's day going so far? How's your weekend? Are you doing anything fun? I mean, for those of us in the U.S., it's Memorial Day, so I do want to take a second to thank those that serve our country, whether it's in the military or as a first responder. Um, I respect all of those. I know our buddy JC used to be a firefighter, so if he pops in here at some point, I have to make sure to say thank you to him. But we're not going to wait too long because I don't want to keep y'all. I don't have anything to. I don't have anything planned for today. My wife had to work, and I'm here alone. And I think when I'm done here, I'm going to go find some chicken. So, anyways, hey, Mrs. Flip Floppin, thanks for coming in. Thank you for that wish. It's a good Memorial Day. Any day I don't have to work, it's a great day. But then dealing with these issues, I ended up having to work more than I wanted to. So, anyways, well, let's go ahead and get started because the topic for today is get me to the cruise ship on time. And I don't know about all y'all, but I see stories all the time. You see videos of people that are running after their ships. And I don't know why this isn't working. Hang on. There we go. All right, there it is. That's just a picture I found. People running after a ship that's already left the port. And you hear stories all the time of people missing their ships. And when it comes to departure day, I'm one that now believes that you should get there a day ahead of time. Now, it wasn't always that way, and I can say that as a fact because 30 some years ago, yeah, something like that, I used to work at Fort Lauderdale or in Fort Lauderdale for a company called Gray Line of Fort Lauderdale. And our primary job was to transport passengers. First, we would pick them up in the morning from the ship, often it was a Costa ship, Costa Riviera. And we would take them to Fort Lauderdale Airport. Yeah, I can talk. Um, to get their flights home. But then we would turn around in the afternoon, greet people at the airport, and for that it wasn't just Costa. We had Carnival Cruise Lines. We held the contract for Norwegian Cruise Lines in Miami, which at that point in time had the largest ship for this type of cruising, known as the SS Norway. Now, I don't know if any of you might remember that or not, but she was a pretty good looking ship. Here's our friend Plum Crazy. Welcome in, Plum. Good to see you. Mrs. JC, hey, we were just talking about your husband. But hey, glad you're here. Um, Flip Flopping says it's a bank holiday in UK, so it's kind of a holiday for you too, I guess, huh? Journeys with JC. Hey, JC, how you doing, bud? Hey, I was just talking about you, so were your ears burning? I just wanted to let y'all know that JC, I really appreciate your service as a firefighter. I think our civil servants do not get enough recognition for what they do. They sure as heck don't get paid enough for laying their lives on the line. So, um, yeah, that's where I am with that. So we're talking about getting to the cruise ship on time. And like I was saying, it used to be that you could fly in day of without too much trouble. And we would greet people at the Fort Lauderdale airport going on Carnival cruises. And those were actually our employees that were greeting them. Carnival didn't meet you at the gate, although they could have, because back then anybody could go to the gate. They would meet you in the baggage claim area, and then you had to go get your bags, lug it out to the bus, where a bus driver would load your bags onto the bus, and then carry you all over to the port for getting on your ship. Now, I didn't see a lot of what went on ship side when it came to boarding, but I did see what happened at the airport when, for instance, an airline loses your luggage. Hello? We don't necessarily want to see that happen, but it does happen, unfortunately. And when that happens, there's a whole thing that has to take place. You got to go to the luggage office that is on the luggage level, but not necessarily right next to where your luggage was supposed to come out. They have to check and see if maybe by some miracle your luggage got there before you did. It did happen sometimes, not often though. And then there was also the occasion of late flights. Sometimes the ships would wait. Sometimes they wouldn't wait. One Friday, I got asked to handle Fort Lauderdale Airport all on my own because it was the day that early birds were coming in for NCL primarily. They did come in for others, but Norwegian Cruise Line was primarily who we were there to meet. Back then, Fort Lauderdale had 3 terminals, and it was weird. It was A, C, and D. They didn't have a B yet. But Delta pretty much owned Terminal A. I think your so-called budget airlines were in C, and everybody in between, budget airlines were in D. Everybody in between was in Terminal C. Well, we got to the last couple of flights of the day, and I call out to holding to get my buses to come in. I needed 2 buses. Morning, BK. Thanks for coming in, my friend. I really appreciate you being here. And the guy that was out there waiting for me to take me back to the office said, I don't know who you're looking for, Matt, but there's nobody out here. I'm like, oh. So I had to change channels on the radio, and I called out for anybody coming up from Miami because, like I said, we did Norwegian Cruise Line, and Gray Line Fort Lauderdale also owned Gray Line in Miami. So we basically ran both. And so a couple of my good friends that were drivers were coming up out of Miami. They called me back and said, what do you need? I said, well, I've got about 80 people showing up on 2 Delta flights in about 20 minutes. I don't have any buses. Well, if you know Fort Lauderdale at all, they were coming up 95 and they were at Griffin Road, which at the time was the back way into Fort Lauderdale Airport. So they told me they'd jump off at Griffin and they'd be right there. And they were there in 10 minutes. So my passengers didn't have any clue what was going on, but I was being observed by people from other companies that were there to pick up people for other reasons. And one of the guys walked up to me and he said, that's as smooth as I've ever seen something like that happen. I said, if you treat your people right, they treat you right. So common courtesy helps out a lot in those cases. Today, I don't think you could really do a lot of the day of. Now, I know that there are some people that do, And I was on Malibu's stream this morning, and I know his mom is flying in for their cruise that leaves this afternoon. And I'm praying, praying, praying that she makes it in time, because she's flying into Fort Lauderdale, I think. And then she has to make the 45-minute trek to Miami, hopefully straight to the ship. But there's also 8 or 9 ships in Miami today, and that's going to make it a very busy cruise port. For me, I'm not comfortable with this. I don't want to be rushed the day I'm supposed to leave on a cruise. So last year, which was my first cruise in 30 some years, I knew better than to try and go day of. It was, I went at the end of April, first part of May. So it wasn't really weather related, but it could have been. There wasn't any snow, but it could have been heavy rain or whatever. I left the day before, and I was at the airport at 6 o'clock that morning, waiting for a 7:30 departure. Flew into Miami. I stayed at the Comfort Inn and Suites at the Miami airport. I had a fabulous room with a horrible view. I'm not sure what neighborhood it was looking out over, but I wasn't going to go venturing out there. But, I just really enjoyed getting there early and relaxing, and I didn't really feel like going anywhere. It was really warm out that day, and I was saving my warm clothes for the ship. So, I door dashed some Popeye's chicken into the hotel, and I had a fine afternoon. I sat by the pool on their patio for a while, listened to airplanes taking off. I got to see a few, but, the runway was just on the other side of the hangars and stuff, but it all depends on what runway they're using to take off. So, Mark's Music Obsession, welcome in. It's so good to have you here. Thanks for joining us. And the nice thing about the hotel I stayed at is not only did they give me transportation from the airport to the hotel, which I wish they had told me sooner it was going to be like 40 minutes before the shuttle showed up. I would have grabbed a little snack along the way, because I was in, is it Terminal D, I think? That's the long one. It took me like 25, 30 minutes just to find my way out of the terminal. I could have used a little something to nosh on halfway to make the rest of the trip. But yeah, so I waited there. I got on the shuttle to the hotel. It was a nice hotel. It's clean, not super expensive. So yeah, would I recommend it? Yeah, if you're not too picky about where you want to stay, you don't want to put $300-400 down a night on a hotel, go for it. But here's the added benefit to this particular hotel. At least at the time, I think they're still doing it. They provided free transportation to Port Miami, to your ship. They tell you the times that they have available for you to leave. You pick the one closest to your port time, and whisk, boom, bam, away you go. You're there. I got to my ship by about 1:30 in the afternoon. My check-in was 2:15 to 2:30. And I don't know if you guys know, but with Voyager, once they've cleared other lanes, if nobody else is coming into those particular time slots, they go and open the next time slot. So I was actually on the ship in my cabin and ready to check things out by 2:15, 2:20. So I had a relaxed day. I didn't feel like I had to run around and make last minute decisions on things. So I love it, Yeah, flip-flopping, you're right. Being relaxed is a benefit, because the last thing you want to do on an embarkation day is get all messed up and forget something along the way. And the nice thing about being relaxed is before I left that morning, I just double checked everything. I didn't really unpack at the hotel, but I went back through everything and double checked, make sure I had all my documents, had the app up and running, that my phone was fully charged so I could use it on the ship for the needed things. And I really, really, really enjoyed the entire process, short of the fact that we had to wait for that shuttle. It was supposed to leave at noon, and I think it finally showed up at our door at 12:20. So it was about a 20-25 minute ride to the airport, or to Port Miami, maybe a little longer. I can't remember. Um, that was my first exposure to the Port Miami tunnel. Let me tell you what, that sucker's kind of cool. To think you're going under all those ships. And on the day I left, there were a couple of larger ships in, like Norwegian Aqua, for instance. And I believe MSC World America was there because she was not doing full cruises yet. She was still new, doing preview cruises and stuff. So she was in and out like every 3 or 4 days. So both those ships were there. And that was really cool. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't do priority access on my cruise. That's just not for me. I didn't feel like it was necessary for me to pay the extra for that to happen. Um, but yeah, I get that. JC, I'm right there with you, brother. I left home yesterday to go to church. And I'm like, did I forget to bring something with me? Luckily, I was just going to church. But what if it was something I really needed? Flip flopping, you're absolutely right. It can be that way sometimes. So I urge people all the time, if they ask me what I think they should do, I always tell them fly in at least a day ahead. You never know what weather's going to do, and especially with airlines today, canceling flights, what seems to be like on a whim. You don't know if your plane is going to be there to get you where you need to go. So, yeah, I just really want to make sure that I'm where I need to be when I need to be. And any of you that have chatted with me before in the other streams, pardon me, um, you know that I'm an early riser. One of the reasons I'm an early riser is because my daddy always taught me that if you're 15 minutes early to work, you're 15 minutes late, meaning you need to be leaving about an hour to 45 minutes ahead of your clock in time. So if you have any issues along the way, you have time to deal with them. I apply that same thing to getting to my ship on time. Yep, Plum, I'm getting there. Hang on. So I enjoyed the extra time I had just looking around the ship, and I'm going to go into detail. That might just be what I do on Saturday, because I am going to do another live stream on Saturday at 11 a.m. That will be my regular times, unless something comes up that my wife absolutely needs me to be a part of. It's a good time for me because I get up early. I can organize things. Hopefully, I can get some equipment working better. So, anyways, yeah, that helps, JC, when you don't have a time schedule. But imagine if you had to get to a cruise ship yesterday and that happened. Flip flopping, you kind of did that right. Uh, you came in, you spent some time in Miami, took your time getting up A1A, which I have never driven that. Uh, very far except for like in Fort Lauderdale or Miami. Um, that would be kind of cool to get into some of those smaller towns and see some of the nicky knack things they might have to offer. And that place you stayed actually looked pretty cool. I like that. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Plum Crazy, for you next Saturday, we're going to talk Virgin Voyages. I'll go over my experience on the ship. I got lots of pictures. I'll talk about the ports I went to and the overall experience, and I'll probably talk a little bit about how booking Virgin Voyages has changed between then and now, because it's gotten a little more tricky. Yeah, let's talk flip flopping. You know me, I'm up for anything. If I can get my equipment up and working fine, right, we could do whatever we want to do here. That'd be a lot of fun. BK, that's exactly the way my dad was. Probably comes from his Navy days. He was in the Navy for I don't know how long, but long enough, and he was on a submarine for part of that time. So timing is everything when you're in a tin can under the water. Yep. Okay, so that'll be next week. I'll plot that all out, and we will. Um, this is flip flopping. I enjoyed my Virgin Voyages cruise, even though I'm a little more reserved than some people might like. I found ways to enjoy that cruise without any problem whatsoever. So, yeah, we'll look at that fare structure, especially with what they had to do with gratuities. The rumor I heard is they did that because of a new law in California and they just thought they'd save everybody the effort by making it uniform. I don't know if that's true. JC, I know. I was there. It was really good. So, um, so Plum Crazy did share with me an experience that they had. I couldn't get it all moved over in time, but I'm going to put it up on the screen and just read through it as soon as I can figure out. There we go. There we go. Okay. For the record, you did not wake me because I'm not dumb enough to keep my cell phone in where I sleep. I put it in the other room where I can't hear it. Okay, it says when we took Nick to go on our first cruise on Utopia in 2024, we planned on flying in the evening before because Nick had co-op that morning we didn't want to miss. The problem was Hurricane Helene was causing havoc on the panhandle of Florida. I remember that one. She did definitely create some issues. We went to the airport for our flight. It was still scheduled, and amazingly, we boarded. Our pilots came on and told us they had extensive experience. I would want to see proof of that. Flying in crosswinds, and were confident that they would be able to get us to our destination safely. However, we would only have enough fuel for 2 attempts to land in Orlando. And if they couldn't successfully land in those 2 attempts, they would be diverted to Fort Lauderdale. Well, it could be worse. It could be diverted to Miami. That would be ugly. The flight was smoother than we expected until we started our first approach, which became reminiscent of a bad cat mouse coaster where you can't determine which direction you would be jolted next. I would not have enjoyed that. First pass, unsuccessful. Pilots lined up for our second and final attempt, and miraculously they were able to land us despite the outer bands of Helena doing her best to thwart their landing. Amazingly, the landing was smoother than some we felt coming into our former regional airport at Latrobe, Pennsylvania. At midnight, we checked into our hotel near the airport and asked for a late checkout because we had already received notice that due to the storm, ships wouldn't be able to enter Port Canaveral until noon the next day. I think everybody on the East Coast had an issue with that, if I recall correctly, because I think Miami had some delays as well. Took our time getting to Port Canaveral and enjoyed a lovely lunch at Fish Lips before boarding at 5 p.m. and got to enjoy a twilight departure out of Port Canaveral. A week later, we flew home during Hurricane Milton, which struck Siesta Key. Moral of the story, and this is what I'm trying to drive home, I think. Always try to fly in the morning. Statistically less issues with weather and less likely to have delays early in the day due to mechanical issues. We may be adopters of 2 days before our cruises from now on, and always have travel insurance. Yes, if you're getting on a boat, a plane, a train, even if you're driving somewhere and you're going to be staying somewhere overnight, get the trip insurance. It doesn't hurt to have it at all. I did get the insurance for our cruise in November through the cruise line. I didn't think that through very well. I just saw it and said, yeah, let me go ahead and snag that. But I am going to go ahead and buy a little something for our flights and the hotel just in case. So, Plum Crazy, thanks for sharing that. I really appreciate you being willing to open up that way. It was quite the thing. So, yeah, and the fuel costs quite a pretty penny to get it in there too. It's not like you can do a mid-air refuel on a commercial jet. You know, Flip Flop, and I agree. Uh, my Virgin ship actually didn't leave. Well, no, we left on time. It's 5 o'clock going out of Miami, but one of our port departures was heading toward sunset. So I got some footage somewhere of that from my balcony because, hey, you got a balcony and you're at sea. That's where you spend your time. Malibu's not watching, but in case he watches the replay, thanks, bud. Malibu's stream was almost 3 hours long this morning, guys, watching ships come into Miami. He had a great view of the turn basin. So out of all the ships that were there, only one didn't come in and turn. He got the rest of them. It was really cool. Hey, Mark's Music, where did you book to park your car? Just curious because with the airfare I paid last week, I'm not in a hurry to do that again. And if I ever do cruise out of Port Canaveral again, which I intend to, I'd kind of like to know where to park at. That might be, of course, our hotel offers parking. We're staying at the Holiday Inn right across from the port, so there's always that. But yeah, we bought our airline tickets for the cruise, and I paid. Let's just say I could almost paid for another cruise for what I'm flying in on, but it was the best I could find, and I could have waited to see if I could get something a little less expensive, but what I was finding, the schedules just stunk. They were horrible. I didn't like the schedules. So Malibu, hey, you made it, bud. Okay, I'll do this again just for you. Cheers, brother. Hey, dude, I'm surprised you're here at all because I know how much sleep you didn't get last night. And now you got to get ready to meet your mama on the ship. So, all right. I also wanted to talk about port times. If you're in a port visiting and you're not sure about what time to be back on your ship, I suggest two things. One, check the time on your watch against the time on the ship. I know with Virgin, when you go out, I think in the elevators and on the illuminated signs on the way out, they have posted what the ship time is and what your last boarding time is. And you want to double check and make sure that you've got those right, because the last thing you want to be is a peer runner coming from one of your ports, because that's going to end up on YouTube or TikTok or Insta or who knows where, because people love to just sit up there and watch and wait for people running for the port. Yes, it's free entertainment. But what if that was you? Would you want people to know you're late to your ship? I wouldn't. So anyhow, um, yeah, if you're in a port, make sure you know what time your all aboard time is to get on your ship, and plan on being there earlier. All aboard is usually about an hour before departure. I was solo last year, so roaming around a port by myself for hours on end wasn't very appealing. Um, but I did spend a good 2 or 3 hours in each port, sometimes more. I got to see what I wanted to see. I enjoyed what I wanted to enjoy. And then since I hadn't been on a cruise ship in so long, I went back on Valiant Lady and used that time to get to see the ship in a little more detail, take more pictures, soak in a hot tub that wasn't very hot. Is a hot tub an oxymoron on a cruise ship? Because how hot is it if there's no steam coming off of it? I just had to ask. I got in the hot tub and it was colder than what I take a bath in. Cool. Thanks, Mark's Music, for sharing that. I appreciate it. Malibu, that's I think that's a good thought right there. Two things. One, if you go back a little earlier, it's easier to get back on your ship because the crowd isn't um, trying to do the same thing. So you're not standing in a crowd of, let's say you're on an Icon class ship. You're not standing there with 6,999 other people trying to get on the same ship you are. You go back a few hours earlier and you get to watch the other 6,999 people trying to get on the ship at the same time. And that, again, free entertainment. Disney Dave, welcome in, my friend. I appreciate you popping in. Great to have you here. Thanks. So, there are a ton of stories we could probably all talk about as far as getting on the ships or watching people not getting on the ships or whatever. I think one of the shows I want to do in the future is just talk about different ports. Now, I haven't had a lot of exposure on that. So once I upgrade my streaming software to handle more than two guests at a time, might have to put a panel together. Plum Crazy, I'm looking at you. Malibu, I might be looking at you too. And we could talk about the different ports and stuff that you can visit and what kind of trouble, fun, you can have while you're there. I think that would be a fun discussion. And that's the thing about me is, yeah, I can blather on by myself all I want. The voices in my head keep me company all day long. Forget I said that. You know what, guys? Let me just be honest. I'm doing this because I'm having fun. If I can't have fun doing this, especially with all these friends that are popping in and saying hello, if I can't be me, there is no sense in me doing this. And as frustrated as I've been trying to get all this equipment work, and now you watch, I'll get done, I'll go back through everything, plug it all back in. What do you want to bet the good microphone works? That would be just about enough to, well, never mind. Anyways, I am so thankful for all you all being in here. It just, oh, you guys are touching my heart. And now I want to try and touch yours a little bit as well. As I tell you all the time, well, as I told you last week, and most of you know by now, I'm very serious about my faith as a Christian. To reiterate, I am not here to judge anybody else's feelings in this area. Not my job. I didn't sign up for that job. I don't want the weight of that job. I am here simply to communicate how I feel about certain parts of my faith. And I had something planned, but I'm feeling led to go a different direction because I see everybody that's in here right now. And I consider you all not just friends, but near family in a lot of ways. Plum Crazy, you know, that's how I feel about you. We had so much fun a couple weeks ago. If you ever get to meet her in person, get ready. They're a fun bunch. When I first started going to church full time back in the late 80s, I was in search of friendship. I may have been in search of love. And yeah, the song Wrong Place, Wrong Time comes into mind. But anyways, I was really trying to figure out who I was. And as I started to connect more with my faith in Jesus, I started to become more aware of those around me. The first church I was a part of, I thought was a place I could stay and grow. But there came a point in time when I realized I had stopped growing. And the reason was because I don't think I really had the deep friendships that I was hoping to have. Thought I did. But there were things that went on that, even though I was there as part of the group, I felt cast off. I felt like someone who wasn't worth being in the know of what was going on in a particular situation. And there was one instance I'm thinking of that I had ridden with somebody else to this apartment complex where a friend was having a difficult time. And instead of being permitted to be a part of it, I was asked to leave and wait out front. If I'd had a way to leave for real, because this was long before Uber, I would have gotten in my car and driven home, and I may have never turned back. I had a friend in that same church once tell me I didn't need other friends, that the only person I really needed to rely on was Jesus Christ and the relationship I get through him to God. That made sense to some degree until I got to thinking about, if that was true, why'd God make Eve? Just a simple question. If God knew that making one person was going to be enough, why did he create Eve? And why are they the parents, pretty much, of all of us? If you believe what the Bible says, which I do. We are not meant to walk this road alone. As human beings, we are not meant to walk this road alone. Yes, Jesus Christ is my Lord. I believe God is the Father, and I look to the Holy Spirit for the guidance in my everyday life. And I know that everything that's happened for this to happen today was a test from the evil one. And I got news for you, Satan. You just lost. My God is bigger, stronger, and more capable of overcoming. And when I rely on him and his power and the pushing of the Holy Spirit, I'm serving him with all my heart, with all my soul, and with all my mind. Am I perfect at that every day? Not even close. If I sound like I'm coming off as someone who's got perfection down, then you're not hearing me properly. I have grown deeply in love with my Lord. And through the connections we've had through these live streams, I've connected with other friends as well. Auntie Chloe, welcome in, my dear. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming. Heather Lee, my sister, we're going to have so much fun when we meet up. It could be dangerous. I say all that to say this. You can believe how you want to believe. You can follow who you want to follow. But if anything we choose goes against the brotherhood of humanity, I would ask you to question what that belief really is. I fail every day. I've probably failed just during this live stream. And I'm so grateful for everyone that's come in. I want you all to know that if at any time you need to chat, you need prayer, you got questions, reach out to me. If I don't know the answers, I'll dig in and find something. If you're asking me to pray, I only ask that you keep me up on what's going on so I can track my prayers, because I believe that God loves it when we pray in specifics. I was told once in a different church that we were attending that I didn't pray properly. I didn't know that was possible. This church believed that you could pray and tell God what you wanted from him and that he would automatically give it to you. I don't know, like he's some kind of vending machine. You put your money in and hopefully the thing drops out and doesn't get stuck in the machine. I don't know. I choose to believe that the Lord's Prayer is the guide by which we should pray. It is the guide I use. I thank God every day for the things he's given me. Sure, I ask him for things I would like, but I always end my prayers the way Jesus did when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. Father, if it be your will. If it's not God's will, it's not worth doing. It's not worth pursuing. And I'm convinced more and more every step of the way that I've started this live stream that God is in it. And I love you all very much. I hope you all know that I can't wait to meet many of you in person in November, some sooner if God provides. If you do need to get a hold of me, jot down my email, or I'll put it in the chat here in a second. ThreeStrandsWDW@outlook.com. That's all spelled out. Here it comes. Well, maybe if I can get my stuff to work properly. Got to remember where you're at when you do this stuff. Okay, so that looks right. There you go. Write that down. If you got a prayer request, if you have a need of some sort, if there's anything at all I can do for you, I will. I'll be honest. Financially, I don't have a lot to go on, because if I did, I'd have had a new computer in here 2 days ago, and things would be taken care of. I can't do that. God has not provided the means for that as yet. When He does, if you guys decide you want to give to this, and I'm going to call this a ministry, because for me it is, but it's a ministry that likes to travel. That's why we're going to split it up a little bit. Um, then He'll provide what I need to move things forward, to better the equipment, to better me, to do whatever. But any funds that I receive from anyone during this stream or for this stream will be used for the stream. It'll go right back into this. It may be to buy a subscription to a utility that's going to help me do better. I definitely need to work on the flow of things here, and I know this. But so the community part of today is email me if you have a need. I have started a Facebook page, ThreeStrands Talks. We can chat with each other there as well, and we can pray. It's not private like the one I did for Chase, but it's accessible for now. I may redo a different page that will be private in the future, but right now I want to leave it open for anybody who might be curious or have questions. And as long as they're respectful, I'm not really going to worry about it. So I appreciate you all being here today. Anybody have any questions or comments you want to throw my way before we bid farewell? Mark's Music, thank you. I don't know any better way to pray. I mean, who are we praying to if we're not asking, if we're not being in God's will? Whose will are we being in? That would be like one of my kids saying, if it be my Father's will, meaning me, I don't want them following me because I mess up every day. Oh, flip-flopping. If I'm all you need, you're in trouble, my friend. Real trouble. But thank you for that. That touches my heart deeply. Mark's Music, thank you. Yes, please hit the like, subscribe, share it out with your friends. If there's somebody out there you think needs to know what we're talking about, whether it's travel related or faith related, invite them to come in. Like I said, I'm hoping for next Saturday at 11 a.m. There will be a post by the end of, I'd say by Thursday, to let everybody know for sure. Megan, I feel the same way. You and Scott, my wife and I had such a fun time with you guys a few weeks ago, and Nick is a hoot. We love that kid. So thank you for exposing us to him, and I'm sorry you had to expose him to us. All right, friends, if there's nothing else for right now, I think I'm going to call it, because it's been a day. JC, I appreciate you again, my friend. Love you guys very much. It's fun talking to you on the phone the other day. BK, you're welcome. It will always be from my heart, whatever you hear. Plum Crazy, I've had a little experience in that area, not with my own kids, but with other kids. Alberta, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys are a blessing to me. And you're right, flip flopping. It's time for me to go get some chicken, because I reach out to a couple of the servers at the restaurant I go to all the time now, and I share my faith with them as well. So that is how we do it. So if there's nothing else, my friends, I'm going to slide on out of here. We'll see you Saturday, 11 a.m., right here on the stream.
Hey.